And then for Ohio Machinery, I have Iris and Greg. Is Greg on yet?
So I am also representing Ohio Machinery and Peterbilt for the signage and the signage only.
Yeah, that's for the item number 3. I'm looking at item number 2. Iris said Greg was joining us, and I don't see him on yet. But just fine, we can move forward without him as long as you have one person here. Was Carl able to get back on?
Yeah, I don't see him on the side, so.
Okay. If you hit it, you can have it where whoever's speaking pops up, or there's like a little checkerboard at the bottom right-hand corner. That way you can see everyone's face, whichever you prefer.
Oh no, someone's gonna the garage. Hold on, let me call the guys downstairs really quick.
Does anyone see Jim Oper? Carl's back on.
Don, can you hear me now?
Is this Ruben?
Yes, it is.
Yes, Ruben, I can hear you. Perfect. And Carl, can we test yours?
This sound not getting as most music notes and things. You can hear me, you know?
I can semi hear you. You're picking up a little. Gruziski? I'm going to murder the name. J. Gruzwiski? Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Perfect. Which agenda item are you with this evening?
I'm with Premier Development.
Premier Development? Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Just so everyone knows, is when we are done with your agenda item, you are more than welcome to log off or end the, okay?
Thank you.
Just come in front of that window.
Mayor Gallagher, I do have us on live stream. I'm just waiting. I text Jim Oper. I have not heard from him.
Don, do you have me as present? This is Rob Zimmerman.
Yes, Rob, I've seen you here. You're able.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
John, I think we can move forward. We have 4 of the 5 planning commission members here.
Perfect. Okay, first I want to, good evening. Welcome to the City of Brooklyn Planning Commission meeting. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Everyone good? By joining this virtual meeting, you are solemnly swearing that the testimony you give this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. This meeting is being broadcasted via YouTube Live. We're going to run this meeting a little differently as we are all off-site. In lieu of Mayor Gallagher reading and starting each agenda item, I will be doing so. I will then turn each request over to Commissioner Kulsar. to go over the details. Once he is done, Commissioner Colasar will then ask the applicant if you wish to add anything more. Applicants, if you wish, would please state your name before speaking. I would greatly appreciate it. We will then turn the request over to the Planning Commission members. At this point, we have had no requests from any residents to join this virtual meeting to be heard live. Please mute your microphone until it is your turn. And then if you want to be heard, there is a little button on the lower left-hand side that says raise your hand. I can see you, or if you want to type me a quick note in the chat, and I could call on you. I ask that you speak slowly and clearly and try to wait your turn to speak. And with that, we're going to do roll call. Mayor Gallagher.
Here.
Sue Grodick.
Here.
Stephen Coyle.
Here.
Brian Summers. I know he's here. I see him. Brian, you here?
Yes, I'm here. I have too many mute buttons.
Too many mute buttons, gotcha. And then Jim Oper, we're gonna go with absent, excused. I'm gonna need a motion for the approval of the minutes from March 3rd.
Move to approve.
Can I get a second? That was you, Brian, correct? Thank you. I'm trying to watch the screen and take notes at the same time. So to approve the minutes, Mayor Gallagher.
Yes.
Suber,
Yes.
Stephen Coyle,
Yes.
and Brian Summers.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, the first item on the agenda is a request from Wagner Signs for a wall sign for TRG Multimedia at 1 American Road, permanent parcel 431060001, docket 6/2020-1. Dave?
Good evening. My air conditioner, which is kind of loud, just kicked on, so hopefully it's not going to interfere. But this first application is TRG Multimedia, 1 American. And these are individual letters, applied sign to the new facade on the building. Should look good, and there are no variances required. Size of this area is huge, and the sign fits well. With that, if the applicant would like to add anything, go ahead and state your name and continue.
Sure. Thanks. Dan Beeman, Wagner Electric Sign Company for TRG Multimedia. As Dave just described, these are dimensional letters, non-illuminated, and the TRG are going to be painted white. The multimedia letters are going to be painted a silver, and they will be mounted to the brand new facade.
Planning Commission, do you have any questions? This is similar to what has already been put up around the old American Greetings building. So it's nothing new. If there are no questions, I'll move to approve.
I second.
Is it working? Mayor Gallagher to approve?
Yes.
Sue Grodick?
Yes.
Stephen Coyle?
Yes.
Brian Summers?
Yes.
Thank you. Second item on the agenda is a request from Ohio Machinery Company, DBA as Ohio Peterbilt for conditional use for truck sales in a general business district at 9500 Brook Park Road, permanent parcel 433-18001, docket 620-20-2.
Dawn, I think you could take the slideshow off. It's not working. We all have the documents, and if residents want to see it, they could see it on board docs.
Okay, I'm sorry. It takes up my whole screen and then I can't see who's talking.
Okay.
Okay, clear. All right, so Peterbilt purchased this property, I think a couple of years back now, from what was Carnegie Body. It was there for years and operated as a truck repair facility. And when Peterbilt first went in there, that's how they used this this property. But since they've kind of changed things around within their business and now are using this for truck sales. So one of the stipulations is that it could be approved as a conditional use with stipulation of having a maximum of 50 vehicles on the lot. I don't see any problems with that. They've kind of been doing this for a little while now, and we haven't had any complaints regarding it. They sit back from the street and are fenced in, and I'll hand it over to the applicant if they would like to add anything to that. Please state your name and do so.
This is Iris Perrin. That information is correct. And we're currently applying for our sales license. And the BMV requires we have signage that is 6 foot high. And they said a banner was sufficient on the fence, but I know we're not permitted to do that. So that ties into the second portion of this request.
Assuming we're going to kick it off with the members, in addition to the 50 vehicles, I think we should make clear that all work on the vehicles, including the cleaning and repair, should be done inside.
Correct. We have 17 bays.
And then my other concern, taking a look at the area, is your fence. It looks like it's seen better days. I wondered if there was a plan to replace that.
I'm not aware of one at this time, but I could look into that.
I think with the presence of that many trucks along that corridor, a new fence or some landscaping would help with the aesthetics in the area and coincide with the area around it and the look. So that would be one of my conditions.
Okay. The front fence facing the street?
Correct.
Okay.
Does any of the other planning commission members have any questions or comments? Dave, anything to add? Oh, sorry, Sue.
I just would agree with the fence.
Yeah, it's perfect. This is Dave. It's perfectly, perfectly acceptable to request something like that. This is a conditional use. They're changing it from a more industrial use that it was. They still do repair work and have plenty of facilities to do that. Part of general requirements are that work is solely done within the building too, so that doesn't really need to be listed as a conditional, as a condition itself. It's, but yeah, absolutely. If you feel a new fence is in order, then we can make that a condition. If you'd like to give them a timeline to come back for something like that, you can do that too.
Okay. Then I make a motion that we approve the conditional use, subject to the condition of getting a new fence. Additionally, with the condition, there's a 6-month review of compliance.
Bear with me 2 seconds. Okay, so we're going to do approval of conditional use with the condition of a new fence to be installed with a 6-month review period. To approve, Mayor Gallagher?
Yes,
Oh, I'm sorry, I need motions. I'm sorry.
I did a motion.
I need a second.
Second.
Who was that?
Stephen.
Sorry. To approve, Mayor Gallagher?
Yes,
Sue Grodick?
Yes.
Stephen Coyle?
Yes.
And Brian Summers?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 3 on the agenda is a request from Ohio Machinery Company doing business as Ohio Peterbilt for a temporary banner for 6 months at 9500 Brook Park Road, permanent parcel 433-18001, docket 6, 2020-3.
Okay, Iris touched on this a little bit in the previous statement. This is something that they have to have per the Ohio Department of Motor Vehicles, apparently. And their original proposal was to put a freestanding sign, another freestanding sign out in the yard there. And after talking it over with them, thought that since they only needed this for a limited period, that maybe you just do something attached to the building and not add another freestanding sign up there that will need a variance and all that good stuff. So I don't have any objections to it, and with just a condition that it'll be gone in 6 months.
I have no issue with this. It will be a good review period on the conditional use as well, that this is eliminated. I move we approve as requested.
Second.
Thank you, Sue. To approve, Mayor Gallagher?
Whoever can beat the mute button first.
Absolutely. Sue Grodick, to approve?
Yes.
Thank you. Stephen Coyle?
Yes.
Thank you. Brian Summers?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the 4th item on the agenda. Is a request from Mukesh Agarwal for preliminary site approval for an addition to Loving Cup Daycare at 4476 Ridge Road, permanent parcel 4323018, docket 6, 2020-4. Dave?
Okay, this one goes back quite a ways also, and after speaking with the applicant, he requested that we defer this, and I'm in total agreement. Right now, daycares are just starting to come back, and he sees the need now. This is an addition that he has already gone to Planning Commission for approval for 2 times, I believe it is, and was really close to having everything completed plan-wise. So we suggested that he go ahead and get all of his plans together for the site, landscaping, materials, everything complete, and then just come to the Planning Commission for final approval once those approvals are done. Figure that'll definitely, if he doesn't follow through, no harm done. If he does, then everything will be pretty well set, and it should be fairly easy for him this 3rd time around. And the applicant is not here for that, so just suggest that we defer it.
Move to defer.
Second.
Thank you. To defer, Mayor Gallagher?
Yes.
Sue Grodick?
Yes.
Stephen Coyle?
Yes.
Brian Summers?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 5, a request from North Coast Architects for a final site approval for the avenue at Brooklyn at 4700 Idlewood Drive, permanent parcel 433-14076, docket 1, 2020-3. Dave?
Okay, this is a 111 private room convalescent hospital being proposed. There was a preliminary approval that was completed in January, and now all their other approvals have been complete. There's just one minor thing the city engineer requested in his approval that prior to construction that it is confirmed that there are no wetlands on the site. And with the conditions of the sale of the property, there is a phase one environmental study that is being done and is part of their conditions of closing, which will include this information our city engineer needs to bless it completely. Other than that, everything else has been sorted out. There's, always a lot of back and forth on a big project like this. Items like the drive, access drive, hydrants were all coordinated with the fire department, and the county approval is also completed. So I have no objections in approving it at this point. Always with what we had with the property next door, the landscaping and screening is a big topic, and they provided a very heavy landscaping plan. And I think with that, I will turn it over to Mark Cohen, who probably would like to talk a little more about it.
Thank you, Dave. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity here to come before you this evening for our final site plan approval request for the Avenue at Brooklyn. I think Dave did a real nice job at kind of summarizing where we're at on the project, but just to kind of a quick comments for the members of Planning Commission. We did get the preliminary approval, as Dave said, January 2nd, and what you have in front of you today is essentially the same things that you looked at and approved at that meeting, only in much more detail. That would include the civil site drawings, landscape plans, and site lighting plans. So there really hasn't been, any significant changes. Some things that we needed to do in order to meet the requirements for the civil engineer and any other city departments. Same for the building exterior aesthetics. Same materials and colors that we originally proposed. You just have now more detailed exterior elevations, as well as the same colored front elevation rendering that you saw before, because in essence, it's basically the same. We have received the approval, as Dave said, from the city engineer for the civil drawings, plan review approved by your city plans examiner, and we're basically ready to move forward. So we'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding the submission.
I don't have any questions, but as I stated in January and Dave touched on, we try to be cognizant this is an area that has been not developed in many years. Many of the neighbors in that particular area have grown accustomed to that being a field, not in use. We're not trying to inhibit development, but what I would recommend and that you stay verbally today, that you'd be willing to adjust things as needed, not into any excess, but if lighting's a little bit off, we can point it outside of the direction of the neighborhoods. You've provided sufficient landscaping plan. I think that would help in that cause of blocking that area. Because being a friendly neighbor to the neighbors along the Elizabeth Lane.
Yeah, I think in response to that, from the lighting standpoint, obviously we don't have issues. We did have to meet in certain lighting levels along the access drive, and the lights are on the resident side, the west side of the building, are a pretty significant distance from the property line. But if we need to tweak that a little bit, obviously that wouldn't be a problem. And from the landscaping side, on the east side of the existing drainage ditch, we've added significant landscaping there. And we've even put additional on the east side of our stormwater detention basin that we have. So we do have a lot, as was said, but if there was a little tweaking that needed to occur, we would not be opposed to that.
Hi, this is Eitan Flink. I just want to add to what Mark said, is that Mayor, I acknowledge what you're saying. We definitely always try to be good neighbors, so anything that needs tweaking, wants to move a tree here, add a tree there, change some lighting, no problem. We always do that, and we want to be part of the community, not decking it to anyone.
Any other members from the community, anything else to add? Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the final site plan contingent on the 2 comments the engineer requested, signing the cover sheet, and the confirmation of the no wetlands as part of the final site plan. I need a second.
Second.
Stephen.
Go.
To approve contingent upon the 2 conditions set by the Mayor Gallagher, apologize for that. To approve Mayor Gallagher?
Yes.
Sue Grodick?
Yes.
Stephen Coyle?
Yes.
Brian Summers?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate your time this evening. Be safe.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 6. A request from Premier Development LLC for conditional use for truck and trailer parking for Ruan and XPO, the neighboring business at 4600 Tiedemann, in an LI Limited Industrial District, 4650 Tiedemann Road, permanent parcel 432-05006, docket 5, 2020-1. Dave?
All right, I will run down the history on this one. They first came to the city in September and were approved for a similar use in this limited industrial district, similar to storage and warehousing for their business, which is preventative maintenance of their trucks. This is how they're using the building. In June, there was a lot of consolidation that was done, purchased property actually from the city and consolidated it to basically expand the parking area. And so in March then, there was a meeting for site plan approval. And that's getting us closer to where we're at now. Plans then showed the expanding of the lot and also showed allowing business XPO, which is the neighboring property at 4600 Tiedemann, to use a portion of that parking lot also. So at that time, we asked the applicant for total truck counts, landscaping and screening, and we also needed the city's engineer approval of the plan. So bringing us to current day, we now have approved civil drawings by our city engineer, Dan Gerson. Landscaping screening has been installed. Truck counts have been provided. And per letter given by Ruan's attorney, Rob Zimmerman, they are calling for an absolute maximum of 52 to 57 trucks, which could occur in overnight of weekends. Per standard that is set for general industrial districts for truck terminals, 50 is a max. And that's kind of been used as a benchmark since the LI is more restrictive, especially. So I have a couple of outside comments, one from Councilwoman Kathy Pucci. She expressed to me today that the 50 trucks should be the absolute maximum allowed. From previous meetings, Regis Barrett of 4617 Tiedemann was very vocal and worked, with Kevin Callahan specifically of Premier Development, and at this point, he has no concerns. They've really handled everything with regard to screening. His questions regarding noise, truck traffic, and he's okay now with the businesses as they are. So both businesses, Ruan and XPO, have been using this lot. We've been trying to get everything sorted out here through our epidemic before they came back for this approval for the conditional use. And I only asked that in addition to the maximum number of trucks permitted, that there be a condition that would ask that the paving of the stone area, the additional parking that they did in the very back, be paved within a 1-year period, which can coincide with a review for their conditional use also. And I think they were agreeable with that. We haven't talked about that specifically as of late, but they show it being paved and weren't prepared to do it right at this time. And that's all I have for that. So I imagine we might, not sure if you know who wants to speak first. I'd imagine it'd be Rob Zimmerman, but I will hand it off. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. This is Rob Zimmerman. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Terrific. Well, nice to see everyone virtually and hope everyone's doing okay. I am Rob Zimmerman. I am outside counsel, local counsel to Ruan. We appreciate the opportunity to be here. I think Dave did an excellent job of summarizing the history that brought us here today. There's just a couple of additional points I do want to emphasize. We did, as Dave indicated, we submitted our traffic counts, our lot counts. So that's in possession of the city, and Dave accurately said what they are. But a couple of additional points. So one, again, the facility has been operating for a number of months now. And we have worked with our neighbors to try to work through any difficulties that have come up, and it appears that we've successfully done that, and we certainly appreciate that. The other thing I would mention is we are aware of the 50 the 50 truck benchmark that has been mentioned in terms of the general industrial district because of the truck terminal. But I would point out a couple of things about that. First of all, this is not a truck terminal. This is very far from a truck terminal. A truck terminal, by definition, is a place where there is a loading and unloading of freight. That is not what this is. So respectfully, we don't believe that benchmark is applicable here. And we just wanted to point that out. This is simply being used, as was mentioned before. The interior is being used for our preventative maintenance, and it's also an administrative dispatch center. And then the outside, per this conditional use request, is for storage. Again, this is not a truck terminal. There's no loading and unloading going on whatsoever. The other thing that I would mention is during a couple of the overnight hours, it is certainly possible that we may slip over 50, just using that as a number. We may slip over 50, possibly on a typical outside max. But that's not for sure, because there is coming and going, so it may very well be less than that. And again, these are the overnight hours when everyone is sleeping and we're not aware of anyone complaining. Is it possible that we might slip above 50 for a couple of hours? Sure it is. But it's just as possible that we will be below that. And the final thing, and when I say 50, I'm talking about both Ruan an XPO. And when we first came here, we were only applying on behalf of Ruan and Ruan's use of the building. But because of the lot consolidation, we now have to consider XPO, which is not Ruan, different business, different operation. And we can't control them any more than they control us. But the reality is, it's that if there were ever a situation where we're slipping over 50, it would be for a very brief amount of time when everyone was sleeping. So just thought that was important to mention, in addition to the fact that operations have been going on now for a number of times. The final thing I want to say is we think the city's been great to work with, and I'm not just saying that because we're before you. It's true. I know from personal experience what a city is like that's not helpful to business that's trying to operate. The city's been nothing but welcoming, and we've certainly done our level best to work with all of you on the truck counts, on the lighting, on the landscaping and buffering, and just working with the neighbors. So with that, I will say thank you. Also on the line for Ruan is Steve Larson. Steve, I don't know if you want to add anything to what I said, and Kevin Callahan on behalf of Premier, which is actually the applicant. They're our landlord. Steve, did you want to add anything? I'll mute myself.
Sure. Thanks, Rob, and thanks to the commission for the chance to talk. Just to comment that, reinforce what Rob was saying. Any maximums overnight that we'd have would be prior to 5 a.m. or so. Most of the vehicles try to beat the Cleveland traffic, so they're out between 3 and 5 a.m. So really, those would be the hours that Rob was mentioning for potential to be have a combined total over 50. But yeah, I'd echo. We've been glad to be in the area and appreciate the work so far on the project, and answer any questions you might have.
And Kevin, did you want to add anything? Kevin, we can't hear you. You might be muted if you're speaking.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. No, I don't have anything to add. I think you've covered everything, and I appreciate it. I don't have anything.
Well, I guess I'll start for the commission. When I say we appreciate your attempt since the last meeting of trying to be cognizant of the neighbors, with tree planting, we hope that keeps up with taking care of the trees so they grow, that area is covered. I think that it's definitely one of the conditions I would set forth with this adequate screening and maintaining the screening over a review period. I understand what the code says and the indication that this is not a truck terminal. I had this argument with my law director today, but the fact is, I don't think the residents pass this code. They look at it from a legal standpoint because they're not lawyers. They look at it from a aesthetic standpoint and the intent of that type of language. And I believe their intent is they don't, even in a commercial business corridor, want to be looking at mass amounts of semi-trucks in one particular area. If the planning commission wants to understand that there are two businesses at this point and understand that there might be a slight overage, before this meeting, I would be great on the same page as Councilwoman Christie saying that I would not want the number to exceed 50, but I would be open to a time period where it flips over 50, but it's 60 in the middle of the night between the hours of, say, 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. That could be an exception. But again, this goes back to the Planning Commission. And in addition to this, you have to recognize that this conditional use is approved by City Council. So, there might be issues on that end as well. That's all I have.
The person wanted to add something else.
I'm sorry, Don, what?
Steve had raised his hand to add something.
Okay.
I didn't raise my
Yeah,
hand.
thanks. I did want to mention too that yes, we are in agreement on paving that southwest corner. So that's not a problem. And the other thing I should have mentioned, but these vehicles really only will come in one time per day, or come in and leave one time per day. So they're not traversing back and forth multiple times, increasing that traffic count. So that was just another clarification. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. I do have something that I want to read from Councilwoman Pucci. I don't know if we want to wait until it's like public comments or if I should read it now, but I do have a concern with, even if we gave more than 50, most of them leaving at 5 a.m. What is the noise level if there are trucks leaving at 5 a.m.? I mean, that might not add to the traffic, but I'm thinking of the neighbors that live nearby.
By the way, I apologize. This is Rob Zimmerman. Somehow I've lost the video feed, so I called in on the telephone.
Thank you.
It's actually probably better that way.
Not quite sure how to take that, but okay.
Steve Larson, if it's okay.
Sorry, we can hear you clearly.
Oh, okay. Okay. Did I miss anything really, really critical in the last couple minutes?
Just
I think, Rob, that the consensus is there's a great hesitation to exceed the 50 mark. I don't know if you heard what I had to say. This is the mayor acknowledging that we realize this is not a truck terminal. However, when approving a conditional use, there are factors that we have to consider, and the intent of the residents is, how is that perceived? So, one of the comments is request that Ms. Grodick question is, even if we were to relax the requirements during the certain hours, what type of noise are the neighbors hearing and out at 5 a.m.?
Okay, thank you.
This is Steve again. I can answer that just from our interactions with Regis across the street. It sounds like he's been. I guess I can't speak for him, but he's been comfortable with the traffic and the noise that he's experienced as a direct neighbor. And I think I mentioned previously on one of trips out that the equipment we have is 2020. It's all new equipment, so it is typically pretty a lot quieter than stereotypical trucks of the past. And we haven't had any additional complaints in the last 6 months or so that we've been operating. Sorry, one other thing too. Most of the overnights will be closer to will be under 50 combined, where the Ruan portion would be typically in the mid 30s for tractors, and the neighbor was in that 10, 12 range. So it's just weekends that would be close and or a little over during those hours.
Sue, do you want to move on?
Did you have any? I'm sorry.
Sue, do you want to move on and read what Mrs. Pucci
Yes.
wrote?
So she emailed me this. She apologizes. She thought we were meeting in person and called me to confirm the time, and I reminded her we weren't. So this is the email she sent to me actually during this meeting. I apologize for not, so this is from Councilwoman Pucci. I apologize for not sending this earlier. Out of force of habit, I forgot it was digital, and I was planning on attending this evening. I am urging the commission to place a conditional use for Ruan at 50 trucks per day, as this is what they have reported to us, and this is also the standard for this district. There are many good reasons why conditional use exists, including examining carefully whether or not conditions should be stipulated at the time of approval. I realize that presently their traffic counts are lower. However, we all know how things can change in the future. Their operation could change. They can merge with another company. The owner could either lease or sell to another business. This is when we have the authority and the opportunity to stipulate any conditions, and I believe this is reasonable. We have residents who live across the street, and we will also experience significant increased traffic on Tiedemann Road when Medical Mutual moves in. Thank you, Kathy Pucci. Let me get you back.
Brian, Stephen, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
I don't think so. So I'm assuming that the significant traffic from Medical Mutual would be probably outside of the hours. It looks like from the arrivals and departure counts that both of those would be before people are generally getting to work. Sorry for the wind, and before they would be leaving work. Other than that, I guess since we haven't had complaints now, and it seems like they've been taking Regis's complaints into consideration. I think that's his name. I think that's a positive. I guess I'm not sure. It seems like some of the complaints or concerns are over, potential concerns are over traffic volume, and some of them are over the number of trucks in the lot. I think we're kind of conflating those two issues because one of them has to do with noise and the other one is just how many trucks somebody might see there.
Okay, I'm going to assume you're done talking because it paused.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Well,
I'm done now.
Stephen, do you have anything to add or questions?
The only thing that I would say is if we were going to raise above 50, we should set a solid number like 55 or something like that. Like if he's saying 52 is the maximum, maybe we set it at 52. And then that can be reviewed in the conditional use review when we do it in like a year, whatever that would be.
Do anything additional? No.
You cut up there, Katie.
Any additional stuff, Sue? No.
No, I think Stephen had a great idea, though. Which you could probably tell from my nodding.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna, I tend to get a bit hard-nosed on things, and I am gonna let one of you guys make a motion here.
For a moment.
Sorry, Don, what?
Rob Zimmerman is trying to speak, I do believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to, again, I apologize. I think this is a problem with my iPhone, but in any event, maybe you can hear me better. Kevin, did you have anything to say that sounds like they're considering the possibility of a limit or a cap? Did you want to say anything?
I do. I guess here's my issue. I don't understand the need for a cap. It seems to me that when we bought the property, we were never informed of a cap. We bought the property from the city without any stipulations, and you can see that the use is going to be mostly underneath the 50, and only on occasion would it go over, and for a brief period, and only between certain hours. I think I take a look at the neighbors down the street, like Fleet Trucking and Wolinski, and they don't have caps. And I guess my way of thinking is we've done everything required, whether it be landscaping, whether it be paving the additional lot in the back. We've gone over and beyond, I think, in terms of providing, everything asked of us. And I don't think that a cap it makes any sense in this situation. I think that the fact that you've heard that their trucks right now are, as Steve said, 33 plus the box trucks from XPO. They might go over on occasion on the weekends or between certain hours. So I think that having a cap, I'm saying that there's the possibility of hours being, during certain hours, that's okay. And since there are no complaints, that's the other thing, is that there's been no complaints. And as Steve said, these trucks are modern trucks, 2020 trucks. They're not like the old trucks that were unusually noisy or whatever. So I am requesting that we don't have a cap.
I'll speak on behalf of the city. When Premier approached the city about purchasing the property, you weren't even talking to Ruin at the time. The idea of purchasing the property was for carryover cars at that particular time. Your use has changed given who you leased to. So I think that that's an unfair statement.
No, Mayor, excuse me, but we were talking to Ruin. That's why we needed the land. We were in conversations with Ruin. We needed that additional land. We were just going to lease the property or based on the current site that it was on. So no, we needed that land for Ruin's use.
Okay, well, I disagree with the conversations that I was in, at least. So, we'll, agree to disagree. But, I'm not trying to hold that up with this conversation. What I am trying to say is that, what the residents expect. And I see some movement in people here. And frankly, when Mrs. Pucci says that we have an opportunity to put conditions on a conditional use of a property, and that's purely it. I've been on this planning commission long enough to know that the city has been burned multiple times by not putting the proper conditions on or not having a review period. It's easy to sell the commission during these meetings and agree upon things. And then later on, we're sitting here fighting. We have to go to court. And I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen here, but it's been done way too many times while I've seen it on this commission. And so the more that I function on this commission, the more that I'm more conservative with how I deal and put protections, especially when there's a conditional use or similar use on the agenda. So I think we can move forward with a motion. Stephen, it sounds like you have a motion in mind. Again, I would be flexible for the hours that they feel like they may go over. If that's what you're thinking, or if you're thinking the whole day, if that's what the majority of the planning commission, I'm not going to debate over 5 trucks or whatever you're going to say.
I think Steve from Ruan wanted to talk. He put his hand up.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, I'll make it brief. Not to disagree with Kevin, but because we're partners here on this project, and so we appreciate that. But all I would offer is that Ruan would be willing to be flexible here in terms of, maybe looking at something. I forget who brought it up now, but something like the hours approach. That would be, we want to make this work, and we want to work together well. So we would consider something like that. The individual truck counts, I know we had said between 52 and 57 as the absolute kind of max overnights on weekends. But I think something like the hours thing would be a lot easier to. Apologies for the dog in the background. That would be something that we could work with pretty well.
And I'm not sure I understand, Steve, mind, what are you suggesting for the hours? I just want to make sure I fully understand what you're suggesting for the hours.
So the suggestion, I wasn't thinking hours wise, I was thinking for the whole day. What's wrong one?
Okay, I thought there was a mention of something like, from 5 or 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. or something like that, not to exceed. I don't know. Sorry, I was just trying to come up with a way. The other thing I just wanted to mention, we had 52 to 57 was what we were estimating. So I was just wanting to be cautious if we had a motion for 52. I just wanted to make sure that maybe a motion for 60.
The city wouldn't come knocking on your door for 2 cars over and say you violated your conditions. I get it. It was me that brought up the nighttime. Sometimes people's perceptions are reality, and if it's the middle of the night where it's really not impacting the flow of traffic that much or what people are viewing. That was my suggestion is, if we're going to go over the 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., that's what I said.
Okay, yeah, one thing I would just suggest is that whatever you do come up with, that it's kind of simple and enforceable. And the one thing now that we're talking about it, and more with this back and forth, their maximum is only a potential on a weekend night. And that's probably less impactful than any other time, through the week. So, I would suggest if you're going to do something like that, and their numbers aren't even getting close through the week, you can keep that at 50 and go up to, 57 or whatever you feel over the weekend, if you think that is reasonable.
Go ahead, Dave.
I was trying to lower my hand. I'm done. You guys did hear me, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, I guess I'll take the lead here.
Whoever wants to talk, Coyle.
Okay.
Coyle. Steven, sorry.
So we're thinking this is what Sue and I were just discussing, or we're talking about on the sidebar, but we're thinking like a 58 maximum on the weekend and a 50 during the week. And I'm thinking the overnight hours would be your maximum time. I don't know what time we were thinking on if you wanted to do it that way. I'm not really for certain if we just set it, make it easy and do it all day. Sue was shaking her head, but she wasn't muted.
I like the idea of a weekday versus the weekend rather than hours.
I like that too. So, does anybody have anything else? Okay. So, yes, Sue.
Would we put a time in to check like we usually do for conditional uses? Okay.
I mentioned at the beginning the 2 conditions that I would like to review, or I'd like a review period at 1 year. And the paving, which we had already mentioned, and then just a review of the screening.
Okay. So I think we should motion to approve based on the conditions of the review plan, which would be in a year. But so it's going to be screening, the paving, and then the maximum truck limits of 50 during the week and 58 on the weekends. And then, was there anything else that I missed? Nope. Okay, move to approve.
We have a motion by Stephen for a 1-year review of paving with the conditions of paving on the back of the property, 50 trucks maximum per day, Monday through Friday, 58 on Saturday and Sunday, and a review of the screening in 1 year is the motion, correct?
Did we get the paving?
Yes.
Okay.
Paving in the back. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sue. So to approve the conditional use with the conditions set for review within 1 year of paving the rear property southwest corner, 50 trucks maximum per day, Monday through Friday, 50 maximum vehicles or trucks per day on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and then reviewing the screening. So a motion to approve, Mayor Gallagher?
Yes.
Sue Grodick?
Yes.
Stephen Coyle?
Yes.
Brian Summers?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, guys, we're going to move on to number 7. A request from Premier Brooklyn LLC for final site approval for Ruan at 4650 Tiedemann Road, primitive parcel 432-06-001, docket 2020-2. Dave?
Okay, yeah, I think we went over most of this already, but just kind of a summary. The civil drawings have been approved by our city engineer, Dan Gerson. Much of the work is already completed. We now have the condition that the area that is currently stone will be paved year. And beyond that, I have no other objections for approval of the site plan here.
I'll need a motion from, or anything else you have?
Does anybody have any comments on the commission? Okay. I do want to say thank you for working with our engineer to complete the couple issues that were outstanding since last we met. And I move we approve as presented.
Second.
To approve, Mayor Gallagher?
Yes.
Sue Grodick?
Yes.
Stephen Coyle?
Yes.
Brian Summers?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and Premier.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Very much.
Is there going to be any other business that needs to be brought forward to the Planning Commission? No? Can I get a motion for adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
To adjourn, Mayor Gallagher?
Yes.
Sue Grodick?
Yes.
Stephen Coyle?
Yes.
And Brian Summers?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Good night. Good job, Don.